On November 24, 1971, a man known only as Dan Cooper boarded a Boeing 727-200 on the evening flight from Portland to Seattle. He bought a seat in the rear of the plane and paid for it in cash. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary at the time. In fact, this was a normal flight with nothing foreshadowing what would happen next. A short while into the trip, Cooper approached the flight attendant and requested a whiskey. When she returned with his drink, he passed her a note that read, "Miss, I have a bomb in my briefcase. I want you to take me to the back of the plane and open the cargo door." The flight attendant immediately went to the cockpit and informed the pilots of the situation, who then put the safety of their passengers first by keeping calm and following the hijacker's instructions. What happened next is where things get interesting. As the plane flew over southwestern Washington, Cooper instructed the pilots to fly lower so he could open the cargo door and jump out, and that's the last time anyone ever saw him. He jumped out of the plane without a parachute and without a backward glance. But before disappearing into the clouds, he gave the pilots specific instructions. Do not attempt to follow me. Do not call the police or anyone else. And most importantly, do not open the briefcase. It contained something that was very important to the FBI. The pilots did everything they could to hide the crime scene. They turned off the oxygen masks and the cabin lights, sealed the cargo door, and continued on to Seattle, where they landed safely and alerted authorities of the situation. A massive search ensued, but Cooper's body was never found. No trace of him was ever recovered until now, or maybe he was never lost at all. With all these years, many theories have been proposed about what happened to D.B. Cooper. Join us as we reveal the top 10 mind-blowing theories surrounding D.B. Cooper's disappearance. Number 10. Cooper faked his own death. This theory suggests that the mysterious hijacker never intended to die during his daring escape. Instead, he jumped out of the plane knowing full well that he had a soft landing planned. The briefcase was filled with items that allowed Cooper to survive his fall and disappear without a trace. His plan might have involved using a large amount of cash to bribe officials, change his identity, and start a new life somewhere far away. This theory is supported by the fact that Cooper left behind his jacket, which didn't contain any identifying information, leading investigators to believe he wanted to be unrecognizable. Also, why would someone risk the lives of hundreds of innocent people if they weren't planning to live to tell the tale? No. 9. Cooper was an undercover agent. Another intriguing theory is that D.B. Cooper wasn't a criminal at all, but rather a highly trained undercover agent. He used a civilian plane to test his skills or gather intelligence on potential targets. When Cooper decided to jump out of the plane, he likely had a safe landing spot ready and waiting for him. He then disappeared into the vast network of underground tunnels, caves, or other secure locations where only a select few knew his whereabouts. Some even speculate that Cooper may have been a spy who regularly hijacked planes to hone his skills and prepare for more dangerous missions. Number 8. Aliens took him. Conspirators claim that when Cooper opened the cargo door and jumped out of the plane, he was immediately taken aboard an alien spacecraft. The government is said to have reached a secret deal with aliens that allows them to take one human every year for research purposes. In exchange, the aliens give the government advanced technology. Cooper was chosen to be taken because he volunteered by jumping out of the plane and offering himself up to the aliens. The government knows where Cooper really is, but it's doing its best to keep it a secret. It's also possible that Cooper willingly joined the aliens and now lives among them on their home planet. Number 7. He survived in the forest. According to some, Cooper landed in a remote area of the forest near Mount St. Helens and managed to evade the capture despite extensive searches. He built a shelter, tracked animals, and sustained himself on berries and nuts until help arrived. But who came to rescue him? Was it the government or an organization that he belonged to? Or perhaps he was rescued by someone he contacted via CB radio, a common method of communication in the 70s. However, there is no evidence to support the theory that Cooper survived in the forest. No. 6. Cooper fell into the river. When Cooper jumped out of the plane, he likely floated down to the river below, where strong currents carried him away. He tried to make his way to shore, but exhaustion and hypothermia eventually caught up to him and he drowned. His body was never found because it was swept further downstream and eventually out to sea. This theory is backed by witnesses who saw a man matching Cooper's description near the river after he jumped out of the plane. Additionally, an extensive search of the area failed to turn up any evidence of a crash or Cooper's body, suggesting that he may have landed in the river and was washed away. No. 5. He was killed by the plane's engines. After Cooper jumped out of the plane, he was exposed to the powerful engine thrust, which likely knocked him unconscious. His body was severely damaged, making identification impossible. Although the theory that Cooper survived the fall seems far-fetched, it's worth considering. If Cooper's body was mangled beyond recognition, it would explain why no trace of him has ever been found. The FBI concluded that he most likely died from the force of the engines, although others argued that they didn't have enough evidence to make such a claim. No. 4. Cooper was pushed by a mystery accomplice. One theory suggests that Cooper wasn't alone in his plot to escape the plane. Instead, he had an accomplice who pushed him out of the plane. Once it was over the designated jump point, the accomplice could have been someone Cooper met before boarding the plane, or a fellow passenger he befriended during the flight. This individual would have ensured Cooper was pushed out at the right moment and landed safely, allowing him to escape. The accomplice had ulterior motives, perhaps seeking to cause chaos and divert attention from their own illegal activities. By pushing Cooper out of the plane, the accomplice framed him for the crime while covering their own tracks. No. 3. The government shot him down. Some believe that Cooper was actually a government informant who was eliminated after providing valuable information. When Cooper jumped out of the plane, government agents were waiting with a sniper rifle to take him out. They didn't want him to land safely and expose sensitive information about their classified operations. This theory is supported by the fact that the government had a vested interest in ending the hijacking as quickly as possible. They didn't want a repeat of the Munich Olympics massacre, where Israeli athletes were taken hostage and killed by Palestinian terrorists. Number 2. Cooper didn't jump at all. What if Cooper never intended to jump out of the plane? Could have threatened the flight attendants with a bomb, but never planned to use it. Instead, he hoped to scare the pilots into flying to Mexico, where he would receive a large sum of money and immunity from prosecution. Once in Mexico, Cooper would disappear into the sprawling cities and remote villages, becoming just another face in the crowd. This theory is supported by the fact that Cooper never demanded money directly from the airline or the government, simply told the flight attendant to take him to the back of the plane and open the cargo door, leaving the possibility of a negotiation for a reward. No. 1. The FBI destroyed the evidence. Cooper had nothing to do with the FBI destroying the evidence. Why would they destroy the evidence? The FBI wanted to catch Cooper, but it needed evidence to do so. Destroying the evidence would ensure that Cooper would never be found. There are a couple reasons why the FBI would destroy the evidence. First, they could have planted evidence that pointed to a certain direction. For example, a witness saw a man enter the plane in Portland who looked like Cooper. However, that same man was later seen at a hotel in Seattle. This would cast doubt on whether the man seen entering the plane was truly Cooper. Second, the FBI might have wanted to prevent leaks in the investigation. Leaked evidence could have compromised the case and led to a dead end. To protect the integrity of the investigation, the FBI may have selectively destroyed evidence to prevent leaks. Finally, the FBI may have destroyed evidence to cover up its own mistakes. If the FBI made a mistake early on in the investigation, destroying the evidence could have prevented anyone from finding out. This could explain why the FBI was so eager to declare Cooper dead after only a few hours of searching. Which theory do you think is the most plausible? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to stay tuned for more fascinating content like this. Thanks for watching.